Hello, my name is Andrew Thake from Mines and Money. Delighted to be joined today by Steve Stakiw, who is the President and Chief Executive Officer of Element 29 Resources. Delighted to have you with us today, Steve.
Thank you, Andrew.
Steve, for those who don't know much about Element 29 Resources, can you give us a brief overview about the company?
Certainly. Element 29 Resources, we're a pretty new copper exploration and development company. We're just 2 years old as a public company, but we've got a fairly advanced portfolio of projects in Peru, which we certainly like as a jurisdiction, as the world's second largest copper producer. We've focused on our two main flagship projects. We actually have 4 projects in our portfolio there, so a lot of stuff to keep us busy there in the near term.
And in terms of, for those people who are listening in who have not been to Peru before, can you tell us a little bit about what is Peru like as a mining jurisdiction?
Certainly, yeah. No, we certainly like Peru. We've had a lot of experience. I think the bulk of our team has worked in Peru for probably at least a decade and a half, if not longer. As a mineral exploration jurisdiction, we see it as one of the top in the world. Specifically for copper, Peru is the world's second largest copper producer. It produces, over 10% of global copper, roughly about 2.5 million tons per year. And the country itself is really well endowed with copper. Reported resources are in the range of over 230 million tons of contained copper, and it's still open. The exploration potential is still fantastic. So lots of opportunity to continue to discover in the country. And really, the copper projects are kind of well distributed throughout the country, and really they kind of track what's called the Andean Magmatic Arc, which kind of parallels the coast of Peru along the Pacific Ocean. And that tracks, that's the same belt that kind of tracks some of the big copper projects down into Chile as well. So, these are primarily big copper porphyry systems, and these represent some of the biggest projects, in the world. But as a jurisdiction, there again, we like Peru as well. Mining is a very important constituent of their economy. I think roughly about 60% of their exports and over 10% of their GDP are metals and mining related. And globally, it's the second lowest cost copper producer. So certainly a great place to explore for and find copper projects and take them across the line and get them to production. And for us, as an exploration stage company, we like it because it's one of the lowest cost in all of South America. It has a very well established mining community and culture there. So finding very proficient technical teams, equipment, etc., is pretty easy. And at the end of the day, mines get permitted and mines get built in Peru. Exploration projects get permitted. We permitted drill programs on 2 of our projects there as well. And I think a lot of that is backpinned by what we see as a real plus is Peru has free trade agreements in place with not just Canada, the United States, but a number of countries globally. So that provides what we see as as good protection. Additionally, as a Canadian company, there's the Canada-Peru bilateral investment treaty, and really that ensures protection of investments in the country. So we really see that as a huge plus, and certainly as a top tier jurisdiction to be looking not just for copper, but for a lot of minerals.
So for 2023 and beyond, what are the upcoming key catalysts and milestones we can expect to hear from Element 29 Resources?
Lots of stuff on the go on our 2 main projects specifically. So we've recently just successfully delivered our initial mineral resource estimate on our Elida copper deposit located just north of Lima. So we tabled 322 million ton inferred resource grading 0.32% copper. So that equates to about 2.2 billion pounds of contained copper, plus very significant molybdenum and silver within that as well, kind of as looking at potential byproduct metals that are in that. And that was at a low model strip ratio of 0.74 to 1. But within that, there's higher grade portions right at bedrock surface. So this is a new copper resource, and it's just on a portion of 1 of 5 porphyry centers that we actually outlined on the project. So we really see that as a springboard to hopefully grow this resource moving forward. And we've just recently completed a phase 2 drill program there. So there'll be drill results forthcoming very soon from that. So certainly we see that as, ongoing news flow and certainly as catalysts and milestones deliverable to the market. And what we like about Elida is, it's located at lower elevation, and that's not to be understated. A lot of projects in the Andes in South America can be at quite high elevation. Elida is only at about 1,600 meters, so it's close to the coast. It's adjacent to a regional highway, year-round water supply, power infrastructure. Also has nearby port facilities and a workforce. So for us, it checks a lot of boxes. As we move this project forward, hopefully towards a development scenario, that really de-risks that pathway for us. Then on our other main project down south, Andrew, is the Flor de Cobre project, and that's in the southern Peru copper belt, and it's near some of the largest copper mines in the world. So we successfully drilled the Candelaria zone on the Flor de Cobre project last year, and we're right in the midst of delineating our initial resource on that. And that's really focused on a zone of higher grade supergene copper enrichment mineralization on that. So that's something we're quite excited. So that should be out over the next few months as well. So we see that as being a significant catalyst. Ultimately that's going to be adding additional copper to our inventory going forward. And then we have another great big porphyry target on Flor de Cobre called Atravesado. It's about a 1.5 kilometer diameter porphyry system with strong geophysics and copper geochemistry right at surface, and it's never really been tested. So we're just in the process of finalizing our permitting on that, and we're expecting to drill that in the latter half of this year. But that's, it's a huge target sitting in the southern Peru copper belt. Like I said, next to some of the biggest copper mines in the world, like, Cerro Verde, Freeport's big copper mine, I think it's the 6th largest in the world, is just over 20 kilometers northwest of us. So we're in a good neighborhood next to, probably most of the biggest mining companies in the world, producing copper, are neighbors of ours. So we see that this as, great catalyst bringing forward in 2023.
So we've got some great and upcoming milestones and catalysts. To go and execute this, you obviously need to have a great management team, and you've kind of obviously got a really high quality, world class team. Do you want to just tell us about a bit about yourself and your background and a couple of your key hires?
Most certainly, yeah. I'm fairly new to the company. I just joined less than a year ago. But what attracted me, to the company is the depth of the team. I'm a geologist by background. I've worked with a few companies. We've successfully taken projects from exploration stage to producing mines. I've worked in Peru and been part of a team that's developed zinc mines, not just in Peru, globally. And it's also with capital markets experience as well. So really, that's a lot of what I bring to the table. But the depth of our technical team is really what attracted me. On top of the great projects or the assets in the company, I see the team as being one of the strongest assets. Our VP Exploration, Dr. Paul Johnson, he's ex Teck Resources. He headed largely headed Teck's copper exploration program in all of South America. So I like to say, Paul's forgotten more about porphyry copper projects than I've ever known. So certainly I like to surround myself with people like that. And the depth of our team in country as well. Very strong country manager, Ricardo Labo. Ricardo's got extensive experience, not only as a vice minister of mines in Peru, but certainly depth with a number of major mining companies like Rio Tinto, Phelps Dodge, etc. So certainly brings a lot of depth there, and a very well experienced board as well, who certainly have a lot of geological and mineral economist experience, and they're again specifically in South America. So I think that's a huge asset to the company.
And can you just tell us a little bit about who your key shareholders are?
Yeah, absolutely. We're our shareholder base is largely composed of a few institutions, so as well as management and board. So between the management and board and a company called Globetrotters that we're incubated out of, which there's a lot of interrelationship. There really is. That's about 20% of the company. So insiders, management and board insiders really have a lot of skin in the game, certainly in Element 29. A couple of major institutional shareholders. We have Acasta Partners, own about 8%, and Resource Capital Funds out of the US own about the same as well. And then we have, various retail and institutional investors, specifically kind of smaller boutique resource investment funds, constitute roughly 2/3 of our shareholder base. But the company still has pretty tight structure. We're just about 87 million shares out at this stage. So, tightly held with a very strong supportive shareholder base.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you at our up and coming Mines and Money Miami show. We think that Element 29 Resources is an absolutely great project. We recommend everyone to go and check you out. And just as one last question, for those that do want to go and find out more, what is your website and your ticker?
Our website, Andrew, is e29copper.com, and our ticker is we're listed on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol ECU, and we're also listed on the OTC in the United States under the symbol EMTRF.
Thank you very much for your time, Steve. That was Steve Stakiw, who's the President and Chief Executive Officer of Element 29 Resources.